Today's episode is brought to you by White Glove Car Wash. Man, it feels like we just never get a break. We go from salt and brine on the roads right into pollen season, and our car never seems to be as clean as we needed it to be. That's where White Glove steps in. They're offering unlimited car wash packages for as low as $20 a month. You can take your car in daily and make sure that it is shiny, squeaky clean like you always want it to be, and not have to worry about cleaning it yourself. And with the satisfaction guarantee, you will never have to worry about it being just right. With locations in Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, you are never too far from the glove. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, go out and support small businesses this year and support your car by giving it the best car wash possible. Just ask your phone to take you to White Glove Car Wash and be taken to the nearest location to you, and let them give you the best car wash you have ever experienced.
Welcome to Talking 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talking 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
What's going on, guys? Talking 215 back, and we are pushing on the Tush Push, brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, because you know our boy Mylotta hates the name Tush Push. We never found out what they call it. You know, Saquon hinted that they have a name for it, but they never let that drop of exactly what that is. Maybe Hard Knocks will come out. I hope there's a little Hard Knocks of the owners' meetings. Apparently, Jeff O'Leary got very lively in the meetings, but we got Coach, we got the Doc, we got Sean, all in house here. What's going on, guys? What's the first reaction you guys have to the Tush Push for one more year being allowed when it seemed like there was little to no hope?
I mean, I think it was just petty and pathetic from the Players Association. I mean, the all week we had to deal with, oh, this is a dangerous play, right? Knowing full well, like, we watched every single game that the Eagles have done the Tush Push in. I can't recall off the top of my head one person being injured, right? You might as well just plays if that's the case, right? This whole debacle feels like, I couldn't imagine if Twitter was around when the forward pass began, right? They would have tried to outlaw it. Can you imagine if the Eagles were better at the forward pass and they said, we got to get together and do something about this, okay? This is just not in the spirit of the game here. I thought it was pathetic. I thought it was way too drawn out. I don't know if it was for ratings. There's not even any ratings to have, just for like attention. I don't know what it was, but I am so glad to just get this all behind us.
No, it's funny you mentioned the whole forward pass. My dad gets all up in arms whenever somebody brings up the argument of, oh, it's not a football play. He's like, oh, well, I remember back in the day when the forward pass wasn't a football play. You want to tell me now that that's not a football play? This was an evolving game. There's going to be different nuances and things added to it every single year. And just because you don't like it and just because you're dog shit at it doesn't mean that we should get rid of it. And my dad didn't say dog shit, but I did. I added that for a little pizzazz. Doc, you seem to have a thought right when it came out. And then I do want to ask you, because the Player Safety Commission did come out and officially say that is an injury risk and a harmful play. Doc, you know a lot about football. You know a lot about injuries.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the risk of a Tush Push?
Well, I think contrary to what everybody says, it's a football play, and injuries can happen on any play, anytime you're out there. But the data doesn't support the claims. I mean, if you make a statement like that, you better back it up with some data that says, okay, X number of players got hurt during this play, and they didn't have it. It's like saying, try this medicine, it works. But that's just what I'm saying. I don't have the research to back up what I'm saying, and that's why ultimately I feel it fell through. I think plays like that, when people get hurt, is when they try ridiculous stuff like jumping over the pile and doing things like that. They try to jump it. And I think, if the players are doing things appropriately and they're defending it as best they can, the injury level is no greater than just, running a quarterback sneak or defending a run play on the goal line. I don't see why this is any different.
Yeah, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like the biggest injury risk on plays, like you said, any football play, there's fluke injuries, non-contact injuries, there's injuries on any given play. But wouldn't you say the highest risk is when the impact is at its highest? And correct me if I'm wrong, on a play like this, the impact is very low. It's like you see the people on TikTok and all doing the one inch punch. Like how much power can you administer in a 1 inch punch? And guys are lined up. You see, I mean, every play they could call offsides. You see the entire defensive line helmets sometimes past some of the offensive linemen's helmets. Like they're within a foot of these guys, and there can't be that much inertia built up for the impact to be significant enough to result in an injury.
Yeah, this is all about leverage. And, you have a short distance, and you don't develop, like you said, you don't develop any velocity. You don't have any, you don't have any speed behind this. I mean, you're in much worse shape if you're, if someone's getting a running start and hitting you, which is not necessarily what's happening. This is just we're just going to mow you over. It's a slow, it's a slow push that they just can't stop. I mean, I don't think this is something that the injury, I just don't think at the end of the day, I don't think Goodell liked the play. I don't think it was sexy enough for them. And they're like, oh, and they couldn't stop it. And some owners didn't like the fact that they were, it's a given. And the funny thing is that it wasn't like it was a play that was exclusive to the Eagles. They just can't figure out how to do it themselves. And I don't think that's a reason to get rid of a play. It's like saying, oh, we have a 7-footer and we can dunk it, so you guys don't? Sorry. Or we have a 3-point shooter that can hit it every time. Doesn't mean you should ban the 3-point. You should just get somebody that does the same thing. And teams just don't have the whatever, the roster or the knowledge or whatever to get an efficient running of this play.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that I saw a real significant risk of injury was at the Bucks game where the guy came around and grabbed Jalen Hurts by the face mask, and it was never called, and he was trying to rip his head off. Like the only time it was a risk of injury was when a guy was, a dirty player. Like there's really nothing. And even Jason Kelsey came on his podcast last week or earlier this week and said, look, if you could guarantee that all I have to do is run 80 tush pushes every single time on the field, I'll come out of retirement today. Like, and that's a guy that we all saw the video. Like he has some serious ankle issues, some serious stuff that just any 12, 13 year in the NFL career is going to do to you. And he's like, look, man, I'll come right out. I'll make another 15 million tomorrow if you're telling me that's all I have to do. And it can't be enjoyable, but he knows there's not any real significant risk. It's uncomfortable. It's not really dangerous. And Coach, you had a tweet that was pretty popular talking about how it's not a home run. Right? Like what were we saying?
It's a bunt. Like, should we get rid of the bunt in baseball? It's not a play that's a home run. It's not a double into the gap. It's not sexy. It doesn't always work. It's boring. But should we outlaw bunting because of the entertainment purpose? And part of me, and what you guys are talking about, right? Like the physics equation here. A lot of injuries take place in football due to force impact. What you guys were talking about, the built-up inertia. Well, there's a formula: force equals mass times acceleration. So if you take acceleration out of that multiplier, you don't have as much force. So there's mass meeting, like Jake said, mass meeting here, but there's not acceleration meeting the force, like on a kick return, like on a punt return, like a wide receiver going across the middle, like a running back hitting the hole and a safety or a linebacker coming out of nowhere. That's built up acceleration. So the force multiplier is no longer there. It's really just like a tug of war, but the opposite. Right? You're both from a standstill position. Go. Now let's see who's stronger. And the funny thing about Green Bay's proposal was it was injury risk and there's zero data to support it. Matter of fact, it may be one of the safer plays in football if you add all that up because of the acceleration I mentioned in that physics equation. And the second one was pace of play. And I ask you guys, what difference in time does it take between the tush push and a regular QB sneak or a fullback dive? Wouldn't those be the same exact things? I'm not understanding how you can make a proposal like that. It almost sounded like it was politicians filibustering, right? Like, trust me, the injury concerns are there. Okay, can you show us evidence to support that? Well, we don't have any, but there could be some in the future. Okay, well, guess what? There could be some. Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers in the Super Bowl tore his Achilles running from the sideline onto the field against the Chiefs, just jogging. It was time for the defense to go on the field, and he tore his Achilles jogging. Should we ban players standing up on the sideline? Should we sit them down? So you can literally do this in anything. And for the people that say that it's not real football, let me ask you guys, have you ever watched an Army-Navy game? Have you ever watched that? It's all running plays, triple option, QB dives, QB keepers. Not many passes to the wide receiver, the forward pass. Have you ever seen Air Force play or old Georgia Tech? Like, guys, that's still football. We say on this podcast all the time, Jake, what do we say about scoring? What do we say?
I don't care how you score. It only matters when you get in the end zone.
And if you saw the head coach of the Bears, Ben Johnson, who was the Lions offense coordinator, who voted against the tush push to ban it, said, yeah, but there's no explosiveness to us. There's no explosive plays surrounding that. And I tweeted, Ben, I am so upset that only explosive plays count as 6 points when you score a touchdown. I forgot that only the explosive touchdowns count as 6. Running plays from the 1 don't count as 6. Running plays from the 2 don't count as 6. Only explosive plays. So again, it reminds me of a political debate where someone doesn't have like the evidence and they're just filibustering and be like, yes, Senator, we're looking into that. Then what are we here for? What are we here for?
And the biggest thing is, like, if it's that big of a cheat code, do it. Yeah. Why aren't you doing it? Like, if it's so unstoppable that it can't be done. Like, if every single team did it and it became a point where, like, and the data showed it's a 90+% success rate, then I might even kind of be like, yeah, I kind of understand. Like, maybe you need to take it out because every single team, there's nothing that can be done. It is proven 95% effective across the board. You cannot make a mistake. Yeah, you probably should change something, but it's not. It's the Eagles, and that's pretty much it. If you want to get good at it, you want to cry, and you want to bitch and moan, practice it. It's not that hard. It's timing and it's leverage. And I forget who it was, but one of the coaches, I'll have to look it up, but he was like, yeah, I mean, the Eagles have Jordan Mailata. Like, he is the rugby background. He's a massive human. Yeah, you know what? Every single team had the opportunity to get Jordan Mailata. Multiple teams had the opportunity to get him in the 7th round. And we took him at the very end of it just because we have the smartest offensive line coach and one of the best general managers in football. So you can bitch, moan, cry, whine all you want. But you're telling me that there's not massive athletic freak human beings coming out every single year that you don't even have already on your roster? Like, just do it. If it's that impossible, do it.
Yeah. I think the thing that really concerns me about this whole issue is them waving the flag of player safety, because this is the same league that has been adding games. Is that a risk for injury? Absolutely. They're adding international games. Oh, now you got to fly.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah, that. I guarantee if you look at the numbers of players injured in the extra games or players injured in the international games, it far exceeds any injury in the tush push. And I think it's a selective outrage. They're mad about this, but they're not mad about the fact that they're adding games. And you talk about injuries, the longer the season, the more people are prone to injury. And that is a bigger risk. So if Goodell was really concerned, he'd say, you know what, we should take back some of the games, or maybe only play 1 or 2 preseason games. But he's not
add a bye week.
That aspect.
Add a second bye week.
Right.
I think my biggest issue with it too, Jake, is this play isn't only available to the Eagles.
Yeah.
And the Packers ran it with their tight end, their backup tight end, against us in a playoff game, and they got about 6-7 yards. They were pushing the pile. It might have been Luke Musgrave or somebody like that, one of their backup tight ends, and the pile kept being push. We played the Ravens. Mark Andrews took the snap and got 2-3 yards on it. So I'm thinking to myself, you don't hear one Eagles fan saying, oh, no. A tight end taking the direct snap from under center. Tight ends are bigger than quarterbacks. They're 6'5", 260 pounds. This isn't fair. Not one Eagles fan has ever said that. But our quarterback, who constantly is left out of top 5 conversation, who constantly is called not elite, who constantly is not mentioned in the same breadth as the Joe Burrows, even the Justin Herberts, the Lamar Jacksons, and Pat Mahomes, is the one you're worried about now all of a sudden? You cannot have it both ways. This play is available to everyone. I'm sorry if you don't use it. The quarterback that you said that's not good enough seems to be good enough at this. What is it, guys? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, it just came down to, right, 22 teams, 22 owners voted to ban it, right, and 10 didn't. And over the last couple of years, I believe there was a stat out there. My numbers aren't going to be perfect, but the teams that voted against it were something like 1-11 against us over the last 2 years, right? And the teams that voted for it were about 500 against us. I think they were 9-8 or 9-7, something like that. It's just haters. It's just people that saw it firsthand, saw how much better this Eagles team was than the rest of the league, and they said, no, I just don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to deal with it. I come up with another excuse as to why, right? Don't make me say, I just don't want to deal with it. Figure it out, okay?
Yeah. And shout out to the Lions. The only team that voted to keep it that we're going to be playing against this season. They're like, look, you know what? Let's beat them on the field, not off of it. Let's go out there. And the Lions, I mean, I haven't seen them run it all that often. So they're just like, no, like, screw you. It's a football play. I mean, just because you're bad at, like, we're going to go against them and we'll let them do it. If we're going to beat them, we're going to beat them with their full arsenal, and we're going to have our full arsenal.
Can I ask you guys too? No. The national scrutiny that Nick Sirianni comes under, right? People don't like his mannerisms, his attitude, his celebratory ways. He's toned it down a little bit, I will say. But with as animated as we heard Jeffrey Lurie was, with as passionate as how he is, with as crazy as Sirianni is, do you not think there's going to be some next level trolling from the Eagles this year, especially against the teams that voted against it in some way, shape, or form, whether it be like a 2nd and 8, and we just run the tush push because we're up by 14 in the fourth quarter. We're just like, hey, we're just going to run this for shits and giggles real quick. Like, you voted against this, remember that? Or maybe a touchdown dance where, you do something like that. Do you not see Sirianni and this team kind of having a little bit of a trolling aspect to it?
Oh, they need to have a touchdown celebration in Green Bay where 10 of the guys line up for the tush push, and they have one guy over on like the sideline that's close to the Packers, pretend to be a Packer, just like shaking, like scared when they line up to do it. Just something being like, really? Like, you guys are that terrified of it? I hope so. I hope they do something.
I want to see them score on a tush push, and it goes up to Jeffrey Lurie's box, and he's got the ball, and he's got his wife is behind him, shoving him, and he's just mowing Howie down.
I want to see a trick play off of it against Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Where Green Bay is just geared up to stop the tush push, and it's the fake tush, halfback toss pass or something like that, successful for a touchdown. We've tried to run little iterations of it here and there, but I would love to see that, and then just to be like, hey, we didn't run it, guys. See?
Yeah. The one thing
Dillon.
Exactly.
That's a good point, too. Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I was somewhat looking forward to if it was banned was I feel as though it would up it maybe even just 1% that our boy Mailata would get the rock in short yardage situations. It's like, all right, really? You want to take rugby out of football? How about we give you, football to rugby here and see what he could do? Because obviously we all have been dying to see him get the ball with a little bit of forward momentum, see what he can do with it. So I was kind of like silver lining, hey, if it gets banned, maybe the Eagles will pull this out of the hat and be like, all right, we'll just run the fridge and try to stop that. Like, have fun. He did this for years professionally, and now you're giving him the ball with a little space and a little speed. We'll give you an injury-heavy play. Like, get off the tracks and the train's running through. But look, at the end of the day, it's around for at least one more year. After we whoop up on the Lions, maybe they'll change their tune and be the 23rd team to vote against it. But I do have a lot of respect for Detroit, the way they voted, the way they've been handling their franchise organization for a long time. So shout out them. Shout out Kellen Moore and the Saints voting to keep it. But Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon, like, come on. Y'all are soft. Y'all are Charmin Ultra Soft 10-ply toilet paper, just soft. So
just a quick question. Is this something that's going to go under review every year now? Is it something, is it then got a 1 year? I mean, seriously.
That's a great question.
Why?
I feel like somebody's going to bring it up every year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had its referendum. I think this isn't something that should go up year after year. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for years the Eagles always proposed that third jersey, and it finally got passed. But wasn't it like every single year you'd hear Eagles have got 2 more teams that are backing them in the NFL proposal to change the jersey? So I don't think there's any limit on the amount of times you can bring it up for the proposal. I think it'll just get exhausting, and at some point it probably will get banned. Yeah. But They have another year for every other team to figure out how to do it. That maybe then they're like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to kind of reverse our tune a little bit here. We can run a 1-yard play somewhat successfully.
I think you can bring it up almost every year, but I think it doesn't get to the voting stage if you didn't receive an X amount of votes like you were supposed to. I do know the Eagles for like years in a row now have brought up instead of an onside kick,
yeah,
you could go for it from your own 30 on 4th and 15. If you don't get it, the other team obviously gets it at your own 30 or 25, whatever it is, but that's a proposal too, but it's still
which is a great idea.
Yeah.
The onside kick rate is like 5% or 3%.
Well, you're not even allowed to do a surprise onside kick.
Exactly. Anymore. Now you made it even lower. And they said, oh, well, we moved it up 1 yard to try and help with the success rate. Like, well, you've done everything else to absolutely squander any opportunity for the success. And then they finally changed it to where you can do it at any time when you're trailing. Last year, you only could do it in the fourth quarter when you were trailing. Still, you had to announce it.
You should be able to do it every single kickoff if you want.
Exactly.
If you have a kicker, just like we have a line and a QB that can do the tush push, if you have a kicker that is able to kick the most insane bounces on an onside kick, the risk reward level isn't in your favor. So let them do it. Let them do it whenever they want.
No, I hate how they're trying to say, oh, you have to be down. No, exactly. Do it whenever the hell you want.
David Akers and Andy Reid used to open games like that sometimes, if you guys remember.
And the Saints did it in the Super Bowl for the second half.
That's true. They probably don't win the Super Bowl without that.
Yeah, they beat the Colts on an onside kick.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Nuts. But it's around. It's not an injury risk. And we're gonna shove it down teams' throats.
Yep.
So today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Delaware Orthopedic Specialists. Spring has officially sprung, and you know what that means. All the weekend warriors dusting off their gear and trying way too hard to relive the glory days, and you know what's going to happen. Hip, ankle, foot, leg, knee, shoulder, injuries. Where else should you go other than Delaware Orthopedic Specialists? I don't know. DOS has specialists trained in each and every part of the body, so you're getting a provider specifically assigned to that part of the body. Why would you trust anyone other than a specialist? The only fellowship-trained surgery center in the state of Delaware makes it a no-brainer. Head on over to delortho.com or give them a call at 302-655-9494. I'm telling you, my family's gone there. My friends have gone there. Check out their Google reviews. They are phenomenal. DOS. Don't trust anyone other than a specialist. We're a little reactionary over here at Talking 2 and 5. If you haven't picked up on that, I had a couple people say like, "Hey, you know what? Phillies, while they have their shortcomings and they do things that frustrate us game in and game out, and they make a lot of the same mistakes. With all that being said, they're still the number one team in the NL right now. And you know, we got to give a little credit where credit's due. You know, while I'm obviously not a big topper guy, not a big Rob Thompson guy, he's coached the team to number one in the NL, and they're doing what they need to do against the worst team in baseball right now, which is all you can ask. When you're playing an 8-win team, you need to destroy them, and thus far they've done just that.
I mean, Jake, I was going to ask you for being the biggest topper, hater on the pod. Probably. Did you hear McCarthy was talking about that when we were losing to the Rockies the other night, like 2-0 in the 5th inning, I think it was, and just the offense couldn't get anything going against the pitcher that had like a ERA of 600. Apparently Topper lit into everybody on the bench as we were transitioning from offense to defense or defense to offense, whatever it was, and just lit into them. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason that the offense exploded or whatever, that we did a good 8th and 9th inning, but I know that's what you've wanted to see more of.
Yes.
And I also saw that he has a secret handshake with Sosa, which is pretty cool, too. So is he getting a little bit more into your good graces because of that?
Yeah, I mean, those are two things you love to see. When I've complained that he's just too passive, he doesn't ever show any emotion, good, bad, or indifferent. When you see him getting along with, obviously he gets along with his team, but you see him really bonding with his players. They have their own individual handshake because, obviously Edmundo Sosa is not going to go and get a handshake with Rob Thompson if he doesn't like him. If he doesn't vibe with him. The vibes are high. The vibes are immaculate right now. You see him lighting guys up on the bench is exactly what you need, especially when it's a game that they ended up coming back from. So hopefully it just shows Rob Thompson that, yeah, you show a little bit of emotion, show a little fire, the guys are going to respond. You can't do it every time because then it just becomes like, oh, okay, Rob, we get it. Like, we're down. Sorry, but like you pick and choose times they explode, and hopefully it'll keep him, thinking about translating that against an umpire every now and then. Because we all see how just absolutely atrocious the umps have been. I mean, I want to talk about Mick Abel a little bit, and we can get into that right now. But he pitched phenomenally while getting squeezed like crazy. I mean, you had Paul Skeens, one of the best pitchers in baseball, getting a very gracious zone. And then you get Mick Abel making his first MLB start, and the ump kind of gave him that rookie, the first MLB start treatment. Just be like, nah, man, you got to earn it. It's got to be middle, or I'm not giving it to you. And he still goes out there and strikes out, 9 through 6 innings?
He went middle. I think he threw something like 81% strikes on the day. It was ridiculous.
While getting squeezed.
Yeah, exactly. That took balls. That took bravado. Like, give credit where it's due to the organization. They brought him up. And, of course, we don't know for sure long term, but they brought him up at what appears to be the right time. We've been up, we've been down. We've almost turned Mick Abel into a meme over the last couple of years on the pod. Give credit where it's due, man. He was slinging it.
Hey, I'm gonna toot my own little horn here. You guys know I've been singing Mick Abel for a little bit now. Every year I'm like, hey, maybe he'll get to a point this year where we can use him as a little trade leverage or anything, and who knows, maybe you hold on to him now.
I think Sean and I were very anti-Abel just because, fool me once, shame on you type deal. Him and Griff McGarry, like
Spencer Howard, Griff McGarry, like all these.
Comes up and has a good couple starts. We're showing up to CBP wearing clown outfits.
Yeah. But like Sean, you and I talk about on Twitter sometimes is that like they'll show a McGarry line and an Abel line of going 7 innings, 1 run, 8 Ks, and we're like, okay. And then the next start is like 1 2/3 inning, 8 earned runs, 12 hits, and you're like, what the hell? Like I can't trust this. But I will say, my hat's off to Abel. Your first start, and you come out there and just say, I'm gonna pump strikes. I dare you to hit it. And he did. And this might be a little off topic, boys, but that was my first time actually watching Paul Skeens, like paying attention to him, because I don't watch Pirates just for fun. He is as advertised. I'm gonna say that much. Holy shit, man. I didn't know if it was just hype. He has a hot girlfriend. He's at LSU. He won the national championship, all this. First overall pick. Was he overhyped? Goodness. That kid is good. And Abel was with him every step of the way.
Yeah. I mean, Abel greater than Skeens? I don't know. Might have to have that conversation after a few more starts.
Call in 215.
Doc, you've seen a lot of young players come up and have some good, have some bad, have some in the middle starts. What do you think about Mick Abel coming out there? And again, you got to kind of put a little caveat that it was against the Pirates. They are a struggling organization.
I mean, that's part of it. And I think it's the newness factor. I mean, you can't really judge a pitcher that just comes up because a lot of guys haven't been able to study them. They don't know, I think that it's good. I always tell them you got to go once around before you really can make a judgment call, whether they belong up or down. So I think it's great. I mean, it's awesome. We needed this. We needed to collect some wins. I mean, we've had some bad losses early and we're starting to play better baseball. And I think it was a welcome surprise. I mean, you beat their ace. I mean, the ace of the league. And that's huge, and it was obviously a well fought game, very tight, but, the kid didn't crumble, didn't have a, 4th inning like other people do. So it's good to see. It's really good to see. It's promising, but again, it's a sample size of 1, just like that one Tush Push injury that may exist. You can't judge it all from that.
No, that's fair. And it's funny you brought up the 1 4th inning, like somebody might have. We're lucky to get 2 innings out of Aaron Nola right now. Yeah. I mean, it's before it was, it's the Rav 4th inning. This is where it crumbles. If he can get to the 4th inning without giving up a home run, we're hype.
Well,
we're on cloud 9.
Into 100 pitches, whether you like it or not, right? Yeah. Whether his stuff is on or it's off, like nobody's warming up till he gets to about 90 pitches, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mick Abel goes 80 pitches, 9 strikeouts, gets pulled, gets sent down the very next day.
Speaking of 100 pitches, can we talk about how amazing Jesus Luzardo has been? He has been absolutely filthy. And I love
He
Wheeler.
has as many wins as the Rockies team.
He's been better than Wheeler. I think Wheeler's one of the best pitchers in all baseball. His ERA is 1.96 or something like that.
195, I think.
So yeah, something along those lines. He went
195.
105 pitches the other day with 9-10 strikeouts. The dude is it's almost like that trade flew under the radar in the offseason because we didn't really make many moves. So it wasn't like a huge thing that Twitter or MLB was talking about. But I remember this guy with the Marlins and giving us problems and stuff like that, because back when lefties gave us problems, but he's been dominant, man.
Yeah. No, it's for all the crap we gave Dombrowski and the organization about really not adding a whole lot to this team, this is a guy that has just been remarkable and has been a massive addition for us. And yeah, obviously we're gonna in a moment here going over to the Jose Alvarado news and how we really need to figure out that Dombrowski's gonna need to wake up and make something happen because we had to add something to the bullpen here. Jesus Luzardo was a massive addition to this team. And we wouldn't be first in the NL or the NL East even without him. We'd be at least 4 or 5 less wins.
Agreed. Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. He certainly flew under the radar because he was coming off of an injury, right? He's coming from a bottom feeder team in the league, right? And it happened real early. We signed him, I don't know, within a couple of weeks of the World Series of the last season ending. So that was kind of done, forgotten about. But he has been everything, every last bit that he was in the Marlins, especially against us where, yes, coach, he gave us hell, right? Yeah. When he was healthy. And then some. He's ascended. He's even better now than he was with the Marlins. He wasn't at any one point. Maybe his numbers against us with the ERA was down there, but this is the best he's ever.
Yeah. And then, Coach, you had a question for Doc, when touching on the bullpen.
Yeah, Doc, we talked about it on the episode before, and I think you answered it, very eloquently too. I think it was either Ed Kratz, Les Bowen, somebody like that on Twitter said, he's like, what is the problem with calling up Painter when it's time and putting him in the bullpen since we need help? Why do the Phillies insist on him having to be in the starting rotation as opposed to the bullpen? Can someone explain this to me? And Doc, I know we kind of asked you with that question, recovering from injury and how you prepare your arm for 1 inning versus 6 to 7. So, hopefully we can clip this and, sub-tweet it onto that question, but kind of explain to everybody, the listeners, what the difference would be for a guy like Painter going bullpen to rotation.
I think number one, when you're in the bullpen, you're getting into a high pressure situation. So immediately that amps him up. And the expectation is you're going to be throwing a lot harder for a shorter amount of time. And I think in terms of coming off an injury in that, I think it's a safer play to say, okay, it's better to be a starter and have more innings with less mental stress and less physical stress on that arm, because the implication is when you're coming out of the bullpen is you got to throw the heat, you got to get these batters out. And I think for someone coming off an injury like this, I think it's a little too much too soon. And I think, yes, I think ultimately a pitcher like that could pitch in the bullpen or could be a starter. I think he's made to be a starter, and I don't think it's good to kind of switch roles, especially when he's coming up from this rehab, basically, which is what he's doing now.
Yeah, because you'll hear the people like, oh, well, it's going to cut down on his innings. Like he hasn't already been a starter in the major league, so it's not like you're taking him from a starter and then ruining his mental game by putting him in the bullpen. And so you're just saying it's more of, hey, you're going to be putting a lot of strain on this guy, both just mentally thinking like, man, I'm being put into an immediate high leverage situation rather than, all right, I'm starting the game 0-0. Let's go out there and see what happens. Yeah. And like you said, I got to get out of this inning. I'm going to throw my best and hardest stuff. I'm going to try to add another couple hundred RPMs on the curveball. I'm going to try to add another couple miles per hour on the fastball. And that's just going to be adding unnecessary strain to a healing UCL.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, like you said, you've got a little bit when you're starting a game, you're an even playing field. And I think that goes a lot towards how you're going to pitch and throw to batters. And I think that getting in those high pressure situations can really, really force you to kind of not overexert yourself, but be like going at 100% all the time. It's like, you look at football, guys talk about players that come in sub and they're all super high energy, but you can't have that for a full game. You have to pick your battles. And I think for him, particularly about this, he could be starting as a reliever, but I think it would be better for him to be a starter. It's just convenient to fill that hole and in theory say, oh, let's plug this hole, but you got to think about the whole implications. And the idea is you want this guy for a long time. You don't want a second injury, because a second injury is like, well, he's done.
Yeah. Now, same breath, McAble, risk of throwing him to the bullpen if he continues to show that he's got some good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got his starts. I think it's definitely something to consider, especially since, I'm sure he would rather be up here in any role than be back down. So I think, you obviously have to have a conversation with him. You got to know where his head's at. But I think if it's a question of, hey, I got to stay down in AAA or I can play, with the bigs, I'm sure he'd get that role. And I think he'd be good for either long relief or, to kind of fill in. The question is, like you said, is he going to be consistent at this level?
Yeah.
Consistency is key.
No, exactly. And then the reason that he was brought up to majors, Aaron Nola put on the 15-day IL with a left foot strain. Doc, we all watched the game. Sean's point, he pitched 100-something pitches. We never saw a grimace. We never saw a limp. We never saw anything indicating that Aaron Nola had anything going on with his left foot. And being a right-handed pitcher, I mean, there's a lot of load and windup being put on that left foot and ankle. This is all a crock of shit, right?
My professional, no. It's a lower body injury. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You look at a lot of these athletes, and you could say, and you guys sat through this Sixers season, how many of those injuries were real? It's just, okay, you're in a situation. This guy needs to get his head straight. He probably had some sort of irritation to his foot or ankle, and it was like, oh, wow. It's like that Caddyshack where, a guy's arm goes out all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of deals.
Oh, it's broken.
So I think that's essentially what we're dealing with is, okay, we want him to get his head right. He needs a break. He's been getting shelled. So, okay, yeah, your foot was bothering you. Now we're gonna rest you for a little bit. So, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, whatever they can do. I mean, literally not playing isn't hurting us.
No.
Like, whatever we need to do to try to get him back, because I posted on Twitter, we got him until 2030. Like, he's not going anywhere. And he's going to be the starting pitcher on the Phillies for a number of years to come. So we got to figure something out, because we saw the tweet of the most home runs given up since 2023. And it's Aaron Nola and everybody else. He has a wide margin on the second place team or second place player by like 8 or 9 home runs. I mean, guys are just teeing off on him. I'm pretty sure he's the first time in MLB history that another team has reached out to him to say, hey, I know you're not making the All-Star game, but do you want to make an appearance and be our home run derby pitcher? Because they're just teeing off on him that well.
Yeah, I mean, and the other interesting thing about Aaron is he doesn't have a long injury history. He never gets hurt. So that's another reason I'm like, yeah, they're just, putting him away.
Yeah, it's the Tyrese Maxey. No, your finger is not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, look, if they want to fill his head with it and get him into that headspace, it's like, oh, it's got to be the foot. No, Aaron, you're the best pitcher. Like, it's got to be. It's the foot. Like, tell him whatever he needs to hear. Because we've seen him tie the MLB record in consecutive strikeouts. We've seen him pitch a masterclass in the postseason. We've seen him get robbed of a Cy Young. Like, this guy obviously has talent, but when you only are working with 92, 93 miles per hour, you need to be precise. And your other pitches need to have all that dip, all that bend, and he's hanging everything. He's got no zip, no drop on that fastball. It's a frozen rope just coming in, looking like when these guys are used to seeing Paul Skeens, all these guys throwing 102 miles an hour, and you go 10 mile per hour less with zero movement, they're licking their chops to face off on Aaron Nola. And then he's forced to throw these off-speed pitches when his confidence is already down. So he's hanging those, leaving them right over the center of the plate. And they're professional hitters. It's what they're paid to do. And you give them that opportunity, they're not going to miss more times they do. And you're seeing the result.
I think, too, they might give him the last year Taiwan Walker treatment in the playoffs where,
Yeah.
Taiwan Walker was basically just the bullpen cheerleader. And, my hat always goes off to Taiwan. He didn't frown, didn't grimace, didn't anything like that. Any home run or hit, he was the first one up there, high-fiving guys, clapping. He wanted to pitch. He made that known. He wanted to. Did he pitch horribly? Yeah. But I'm wondering if I guess what I'm trying to say is
You can't play him right now.
I want a championship over protecting someone's feelings.
Yep.
That should always be the case to me, honestly. And it's not like, if Aaron Nola loses confidence, your starting unit is shot. No, this starting unit is deep, deep, deep. So if Nola gets his feelings hurt after we win the World Series and wants a requested trade, okay, cool. We'll grant that. I'm not saying I'm on the team, but it needs to be the right move, man. It just really needs to be. And let's hope that this Phantom IL, sometimes it resets people. Yeah. Sometimes it gets them going. You work on something and all of a sudden you come back and it's just kind of like a nice little all-star break. You're back feeling healthy and better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect segue into the next area we're talking about. We had a guy that was absolutely terrible with the Phillies. Not a fan of IL, but they sent him down, and Jose Alvarado completely reset his mind. He was brought back up. He had the next season, he had a 1.74 or something like that. ERA was dominant. Had a little bit of a setback last year. Came into this year looking fit as a fiddle. Dropped 10 to 20 pounds, didn't lose a mile per hour on the fastball, the turbo sinker. And then our buddy Sean here, we'll see if we can find it a little bit like early, like 2 months ago. You were like, what were you saying?
I came into the season like looking at how slim Alvarado was. He was looking good, right? And I'm thinking, because before the season began, I'm going, he's going to struggle to hit 96 over here. Right? There's no way he's going to be throwing 99, 100 miles an hour. He just lost 25, 30 pounds. That's crazy. That's a crazy amount of weight that physics you just don't make up for. So the first 2 weeks of the season, he's still hitting 100, 101.
In 45-degree weather, where everything's tight and the air's thick. He's hitting 101.
Yeah, no warm up into the season. It's April and he's slanging 101. I said, guys, I have no evidence for this other than performance, but this guy might be pissing a little hot, right? And I mean, now we're 50 games into the season or whatever, are we? And lo and behold, we got a guy that spent the off season as was it Middleton or was it Dombrowski that said was on a little weight loss drugs. He was shooting up a little more than just those Ozempic, fellas.
Yeah, so Sean, do you know anything, or Doc, do you know anything about exogenous testosterone?
Oh yeah. Exogenous testosterone is just a catch-all for just a synthetic testosterone, right? So essentially what's going to happen is throughout the off season, guys are taking gear. I mean, whether you like it or not, whether they're going to be caught or not, oftentimes they're just, depending on what kind of testosterone you're going to take, it's typically attached to another molecule, another ester. And the different ones will wear off in the body, some sooner, some later. And typically they'll just take an ester that clears the body a little bit quicker. Now they'll just stop, the half-life of testosterone, I don't know, enanthate is going to be about 4 or 5 days. So they would take it and they would cut it out maybe 3 weeks before the season. So that way the amount that by the time the testing window opens, they're completely clear, right? This is where Alvarado messed up. Either he pinned a little bit too close to the beginning of the testing season, the open window, or he took an ester that doesn't clear the body in time, right? And in any event, right, he may have accidentally, what he probably accidentally took was a different ester, if I had to guess, right? He took something that he thought the half-life of it was going to be a day or two, and it ended up being a longer ester that might not have cleared for 7, 8, 9 days.
Sean. Atta boy. Doc, there's
no Ozempic that has testosterone in it. Okay. There's not. There's no supplement over the counter, because anytime you take testosterone orally, the half-life is reduced to hours. It gets metabolized by the liver. It's out of your system you're probably not going to piss hot for it within the next couple days. right? You're probably, I don't know exact time to completely clear, but the half-life you're talking is like between 6 and 10 hours, something like that, regardless of ester, because your liver's going to cleave that off whenever it passes through anyway. So this is not something that was taken orally. This guy got pinned probably in his ass, right? Maybe by him, maybe his wife, I don't know. But this is a guy that knowingly took something. There's no mistake when it comes to exogenous hormones, unless you literally took that testosterone supplement that was tainted like a day or two before the test. The chances of that are astronomical.
Well done. So he wasn't taking.
I'll ask this, Sean. Does it bother you? And I have not done this on the scale that you have, but when I am doing a fast or a cleanse or cutting, I know that I'm going to lose some strength on a lot of my lifts, right? Because it's just, you're not going to maintain your strength and lose weight and cut and slim down. So when people say, oh, he lost 10 pounds, but he's strong as ever and still has 102 on his fastball, I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. And then the second thing I want to ask you, Sean, too, and this blows my mind, I hate it. Is it every training camp or every press conference where someone just got back from a lift or training camp, they're like, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been in the gym. He put on 5-10 pounds of muscle this offseason. And I just want to say, guys, that's called a pump. He just got done lifting. Like, he didn't just put on 10-15 pounds of muscle like in the last month to 2 months. That's a pump. His arms look bigger right now. When he's about to play the game, you'll see his arms are going to look a little bit more slimmer and not as, jacked up, because he's not hitting the gym hard 2 minutes before he's about to take the field. Do you see that as well? Is that something that you noticed? Or
so what I'll say is it raises the kind of red flags start to hit, right? We had a couple off seasons ago where they said, oh, Bone put on like 20 pounds in like 2 months. And I'm going, you bet you're on, that's Diana ball. Like, that's not even testosterone. Like, so it's either horseshit or, because these guys didn't just start lifting weights. They didn't just start eating right. These guys have been professionals. These guys have been professionals for years, right? Yeah. So anytime you see like a rapid change in weight, you're thinking like, you better not. You better not. I'm going to be really upset with you if you happen to miss 80 freaking games and disqualify yourself from the playoffs. So it's not so much like, oh, I'm not rolling my eyes like, oh, yeah, he didn't really put on 10 pounds of muscle. I'm going, you better not have put on 10 pounds of muscle, damn it. Like in baseball, okay, you're playing 162 games. You're active every single day. You might take a couple months to focus on lifting weights, right? You're not running around as often as you normally would be. So I get putting on some weight. Also, you might lose weight throughout the season. If you're a 30-year-old professional, you know whether or not you're putting on weight or losing it during the season, right? One of the biggest things, I feel like the biggest, warnings that somebody's about to retire is that they will lose all of that weight and they won't even have it on them by the time of the next season starts. Right. Yeah. You see like a Chris Long, by the time he was finished up with us, he was starting the season at the same weight he ended the last season, and you would just get skinnier throughout. That's how you know, like, it's about time. We're about to take old Yeller out back. Right. So those are some of the things that come through my head when it comes to any sort of radical weight or size change. Right. Oh boy, why am I drawing a blank? All of a sudden was super muscular, our center fielder, right? Seeing pictures of his shoulders got jacked up, right?
Johan Rojas.
Yeah, Rojas. All of a sudden his shoulders, his traps, and those are the areas that are the most densely packed with androgen receptors. So you typically see when guys start taking exogenous testosterone or any sort of androgen, you start to see those areas kind of fill out first, right? So, and that's another red flag. MLB, do not test him. He's clean. I'm telling you, he's clean. We can't lose anybody else. But those are some of the flags that I see, red flags, beige flags, what have you, when it comes to weight and putting on or taking off size between seasons.
So he's not taking Nugenix Total T, brought to you by Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt.
Bro, did you hear they got a free bottle promotion? If he is, that's not causing any sort of false positives. I promise you that much.
No, exactly. Well, Sean, hats off, buddy. That was We went to school there, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Holy cow.
It's like an episode of Breaking Bad.
It really was.
Oh,
Good
man.
stuff.
Well, yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We're going to have a little segment on that, once a month or so. Dan, get us some good clips of that.
Let me know. We got
enjoyable.
Doc for the injury updates. Anybody that pisses hot for drugs, let's talk about it. I'll get my own segment.
I love it.
Are they hot? New segment brought to you by Talking 215.
How warm is that piss?
Send in your player. We'll tell you. Pick only. Pick that piss. Anyway, look, Philly's playing hot. They're getting started here in about 10 minutes our time. By the time you're listening to it, the game will be over. Taiwan Walker's pitching tonight, right? Yeah, Taiwan Walker over under 11.5. I understand Taiwan's not great. He's been pitching pretty good this year. I'm smashing that under because I think we can score plenty of runs, but the 8-win Colorado Rockies aren't scoring many runs. I'm smashing that under. By the time you listen to this, it doesn't matter anyway. The game's over. But if somehow I tweet you or text it to you, I'll tweet it now. Smash the under, make some money. Yeah. Anything else you boys want to talk about? Any other questions for Doc that we can ask? I thought I had one more, so you guys go ahead and talk. I'll try to think of the last injury question I had.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly expect Taiwan to pitch all right. He's going against one of the most anemic offenses in all of baseball. I wonder how long he's going to go, right? I don't have the pitch counts for his last couple appearances, but I wonder how the game's going to work out as far as like relief pitching. But thankfully, it feels like the relief pitchers that haven't been suspended haven't been playing too bad as of late, You've got, oh boy, why am I all of a sudden I'm having brain farts on everybody's names, but I just as a whole, you got guys like Joe Ross that are pitching all right, right? You got, Cesar Hernandez is pitching just fine, right? Spencer Banks has been a fairly reliable arm a third of the way through the season. So Tanner Banks, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my head right now, but so I'm curious to see kind of how the rest of the game plays out. There's very few circumstances where this Rockies offense is going to score more than 3 runs. So as long as this team shows up, I don't care if it's the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. Please don't make me wait up for it, though, because honestly, I've been falling asleep. These games have been finishing past my bedtime. I am ready because they're playing the Athletics next, if I'm not mistaken. And that's going to be another one where it's like, guys, you're going to have to fill me in on how these games end. Because I'm checking the MLB app to see how the second half of it went.
No kidding. Our fifth sport, the Union, up 2-0 right now. Go Duke.
Yeah, but they're playing a minor league team.
Oh, well.
Still, they have one of the best records in. I think they may have the best record now in Major League Soccer. So
yeah, what a turnaround.
Yeah,
begging the the team to be sold. Best record.
Yep.
Tied for the best record.
Yeah, they were up there.
Yeah, tied for the best record, but still the best record. Final thought, anybody? Final thoughts?
Well, I was going to say my final thought is last year your top 3 relievers were Estevez, Hoffman, and Alvarado. Now you literally have none of your top 3 relievers from last year, regardless of the Phillies being in first place. And let's being positive right now. That's not good enough to win a World Series. You have to go get some more help.
Yeah. That kind of echoed my final thought of, look, if we are going to continue to be the top team in the NL or right there in the top 3, your window is really closing rapidly with the core 4 on this team. You got to go out and make whatever moves necessary to get a solid reliever. Sign Schwarber. Do whatever you need to do to make this a win now team, because you got to go after it if this team is going to be a top team in the NL.
Final thought, War Romano. Let's go. Throw him out there every single night. I want to see him pitch the next 90 games or however many we've got. Let's go, Romano. Let's go, Romano. Like that. Doc, close us out.
My final thought is to be positive on the Phillies. I'm glad we lost the Juan Soto sweepstakes.
Ooh, good call.
I like that.